I'm Dane Rose, and as owner and designer of Mystical Landscapes over the past 27 years, my primary job is to help you navigate through three probability fields. And they work like this. 90% of the time in the construction and design industry, things go over budget, are done late, and there are unnecessary stresses and surprises that come up during the job, and quite frequently, after work is done, there's a realization of, oh, we should have thought of this instead of that. And those of you familiar with construction know exactly what I'm talking about. And those of you who are not, hopefully we're going to bypass all of those regular occurrences that come from navigating a complex process without a clear system. So what I'll do now is outline the system that I use, from design through to installation, that allow 90% of my jobs to be done early, all of them to be done on budget, and as few kind of last-minute changes as possible. So the first step is the questionnaire. I will email you the questionnaire, or you can download it below this video. It will help you clarify your thoughts. It will help you discuss any differences that you have with your partner or family members before you have to pay a designer to sit and listen to a debate. It will save you time and money in the form of avoiding roughly 2 design revisions, because when these questions don't get asked and articulated, a designer will give you a great initial plan. You'll ask how much it cost and what about this and what about that, and then you'll realize it's not the right plan, and they'll do a couple of revisions, and you have to pay for all of that. So with the questionnaire, we try and get right to ideas that are within budget, going to fit your needs, consistent with your values. And it also, ensures that before I give you any advice, that I actually understand what's important to you. Once we review your answers to the questionnaire together on site, we do a full site walkthrough. This will ensure that when we are done, everything fits together, not only functionally, but aesthetically. It also allows me to show you possibilities that you may not be aware exists. And this is important if you think you know what's possible on your site and you want to do it in stages. So you just want to have a designer look at this one little bit, and then later you'll call them out to look at this other little bit. Well, when you call them out to look at bit number 2, they may tell you about a possibility that's really neat that you want to do, but now it doesn't fit with bit number 1. So that's why we do the whole walkthrough. And it also, when you start with an overview and then zero in on making detailed decisions, it avoids costly change orders. Just remember one rule: design and ideas are cheap. Redoing anything is expensive. Then I provide a rough cost estimate right into the design stage. This helps you understand all of the costs before you make any decisions. It also allows you to edit and delete ideas as an overview so that you can pick the ones that give you personally the most value per dollar. And by you understanding what things are actually going to cost, right as I'm talking about ideas, it results in a phenomenon where about 90% of my ideas actually get built as initially presented, rather than developing elaborate pipe dreams that are over budget or, not in sync with what's important to you. The next stage for many people is the action plan, where we break the project into stages. So you can do the whole thing at once and you'll have a savings in the efficiency of that. But a good third of my clients, they want the benefits of the overall design, but they want to spend X amount this year, X amount that year, and X amount the next year. Do it in stages. So the staged review allows you to manage cash flow by, what they cost, and so we can pick the most important things to you to fit into stage 1 and then go on to stage 2. And then sometimes there's an optional stage where, if we do well in business, in year number 4, we'll add a water feature or something like this. But you want to think of these things as a whole and then install them in pieces. It also, in this stage plan, I educate you on how to install the stages most cost effectively. If we need heavy equipment in the back garden, you don't want to complete the front garden and then have to drive equipment over it. Or if heavy equipment will save $15,000 over doing it in hand labor, we don't want to have to do it in hand labor just because you didn't think the stages through. The next thing is we review physical and photo samples. And this is somewhat dependent on you, but my job is to bring photographs, and this is where my book, Marin Landscape Design, which you'll see on the website, and which I'll bring to the design meeting, is helpful. I've taken photographs of all of the main locally available materials and the top plants that are good for drought and this and that and the other. And this basically allows you to see samples of what different rocks look like in a wall, and this is helpful in determining cost, because you can build the exact same wall out of one material that costs $150 a ton, or you can build the exact same wall in another material that costs $1,000 a ton. That wall costs 10 times more. So it's an important part of the design. Sometimes you'd like to see actual samples of materials, so we'll go to a rock yard together. All of this is part of the design, because the goal of a good designer is to come up with the plan that you would do yourself if you had 25 years of design experience, but your values. No designer should tell you what looks good to you, but they can tell you how your style, your taste can be functionally and cost effectively laid out on the project. So we'll kind of go through the materials. At this point, I have what I need to develop a free bid for the hardscape, and also to develop budgets for plants and planting. In this initial stage, I develop plant themes, but the detailed planting I do after the soil is amended, any demo work is done, and any installation of hardscape occurs. Grading walls, pathways, lawns, those all go in first. The reason for that is that I've discovered that clients cannot always visualize what little circles of S's and P's look like, on a drawing. But they can always look at a photo in a book or at a nursery and say, what do you think about this plant going here? It actually saves design time, which saves you money, and you know exactly what it's going to look like. So I do the second wave of design when we're ready to plant, and then what that design consists of is deciding exactly how we'll spend the plant budget, consistent with the general themes we developed up front. And that completes the design and installation. Plants are usually one of the last things to go in, followed by irrigation, lighting, and mulching. The first block of time is usually 4 to 6 hours, and you benefit a lot from doing that in one meeting, because if you do it in one meeting, then you've got all the pieces in one in one meeting. Everything's fresh in mind. You can break it into stages, but we have to then schedule multiple meetings and remember where we left off, etc. So usually I'll do a 3 to 6 hour meeting, or if we need to develop the core ideas in 3 or 4 hours, and then have a subsequent meeting to go look at material yards to pick finishes, we'll do that. And then the next meeting will be looking at plants and discussing where they'll go in the beds. And the final design meeting occurs when I've set out all of the plants ready for planting. And I ask you to just make sure that you don't want to make any changes before they go in the ground. 90% of my jobs are done early because I do one job with full attention until complete. Clients hold their space in the schedule by making a $1,000 deposit at contract signing. And typically 90% of all my design work using this approach, which saves a lot of time, thanks to the questionnaire, costs somewhere in the $800 to $2,000 range. Now, we'll take as much time as you need because, as I say, design is cheap, talk is cheap. Paying to do something, realizing you made a mistake, paying to have it demolitioned, and then paying to do it properly is incredibly expensive. So that's our goal, and most of the time we succeed very well.